Great to have you here
Welcome to the podcast.
with me and my guests from around the world. Welcome to the Simone Filer podcast.
Welcome to this podcast.
Let's get into it, shall we? On the Simone Filer podcast. Just out of the studio after a mammoth audiobook recording session with the enlightening, fun and inspirational Deborah Peden. Deb's guide to living a healthy, vital and empowered life are contained within her narration of her fabulous debut book. In my opinion, it's a user's manual, 100 Ways to a Healthy 100. Deb, welcome and thank you for joining me now on my podcast.
Thank you, Simone. It's wonderful to be here.
Yeah.
And be out of the booth.
Yeah. You spent a lot of time there. You did such a good job. How did you find the recording process, Deb?
Well, it certainly was different to what I suppose I didn't have expectations, but it was better than I probably would have hoped for.
Oh, good.
And it took less time than I thought it would take, actually, and you made it so seamless, though.
Oh.
And I learned, and I think you probably picked up on that, I learned the cues and clues when I had to repeat something. You didn't always have to prompt me to...
Yeah, just from my mannerisms.
Yeah, that's right. I was picking up on your body language.
So when you shake your head, that means go back.
That's right. I was picking up what you're putting down.
Well, you did a really wonderful job. Your diction and your narration were outstanding and very compelling listening, not only from your narration, but also the content, let me tell you.
We both got a little bit teary at times, didn't we?
Many times. I don't think I actually admitted how many times I cried through that. Just the awareness through the whole book about how aware you can become of yourself to make your life better.
That's right.
So how did 100 Ways to a Healthy 100 actually all come about?
Where did the story begin?
Yeah.
Way back in 2008. It was a time when I was a real sugar addict. The book is primarily all about health, and it started out as physical health, but it's obviously extended to a lot more after that once I got started with the writing. But it started with a sugar addiction.
Right.
So I was a major sugar addict. I didn't look overweight. I looked fine, but I wasn't well. And I knew that eating the level of sugar I was eating was not good for me, but I didn't want to know that. People might say, oh, you know that your sugar converts to fat in your body and then you're going to end up with fatty liver and all these other health problems. But because my addiction was so strong, I wasn't ready to hear the message. Until somehow or other, in my hands came a book by David Gillespie called Sweet Poison. Now, I think the reason I liked the book was on the front cover with all these iced donuts. And I liked the sugar
That looks
cover.
yummy.
It looks yummy. But of course, as I turned the pages, the story was absolutely compelling. But also, he's a lawyer. He's not a health person.
Okay.
He's a lawyer with his own weight problems and sugar addiction. And so he decided to go and do all this research on, the history of sugar and how it all starts and the yo-yo dieting that people do and how does that happen. But he also wrote it in a really easy to read, layman's terms. So I got the message, and he gave us the history of how sugar became part of our lifestyle and became so pervasive. And I thought, oh my God. And once he spoke the science in such a great way, I can still remember when I read the book. It was September 2008, and the day I started reading is the day I quit sugar.
Is that right?
And I went downstairs and I cleaned the cupboards out.
Wow.
Got rid of everything that had anything sugary in it. My husband comes home.
Oh dear.
And goes,
What's going on here?
Where's the biscuits? Where's the barbecue sauce? Where's the tomato sauce? I said, they're gone. They're in the bin.
Oh no. How did he react to that?
He keeps going and buying more barbecue sauce and tomato sauce. And I keep throwing it out.
This is your decision, not mine.
That's exactly right. Well, in my dedication, I say that he's who I dedicate the book to. Yeah. And of course, I pretty much all the topics I experimented on him.
Right.
Hey, I've just discovered something new. I'm just going to test it out on you and see. Quitting sugar, we've got to do that.
Yeah. My ex was saying down the track they'll probably laugh. We'll laugh, saying we used to have bags of it in the cupboard. You know.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's not so much like the sugar, the visual sugar bags that you can see. It's all the hidden sugars. That's what David Gillespie was really great at explaining. It's like hidden in meat pies and all those innocuous things you wouldn't think, or cans of soup. And then it's training myself to then look, how many grams of sugar are there? And of course, that was the catalyst then to go and investigate further and go to the specialist. Dr. Robert Lustig was my pediatric endocrinologist that I ended up researching on. He studies extensively and lobbies in the States trying to get people to recognise the adverse health effects of sugar. So it sort of started with the bitter truth of sugar.
Well, also in your book, you go into detail about how it's hidden, and I couldn't believe. I was thinking, is this list ever going to end? Wasn't it like a comprehensive the names of them?
Yeah.
So if you want to find out what's going on and what's actually hidden in things, then you need to have a look at Deb's book, because she's got a list there of what they're called. Many different and varied names. All right, so well, how did you narrow down your topics then? Obviously you started with sugar, and you've got 100 of them.
That's right.
All amazing, dear listener, all amazing and empowering and enlightening, every single one of them. But how did it come about? You thought, okay, I'm gonna...
Well, I knew I wanted to make the book holistic, so all aspects of health. I knew that I couldn't just drum on for 100 topics about sugar. But there was a lot of things, like sugar addiction aside, there was a lot of things in my life that I was doing well. And so I had to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, if I can turn my life around in this way, and there's so many other things that I'm doing well, I'm sure I've got 100 topics in there that I can write about and narrate that people might be interested in learning about. And because I'm a researcher, I love researching. I've got a history background, so I drew on all of those skills to do my research. So I came up with the working title of my book, 100 Ways to a Healthy 100, thinking I'll come up with something much more catchy and really easy to say off the tongue. But nothing ever came to me.
Yeah.
However, as I'm writing, because it took me 4.5 years to write the book and researching, I got to 32 topics and I hit a wall, and I thought, maybe
32 ways?
32 ways to 100. How does that sound? No. So I thought, I've got to push on.
Yeah.
So I pushed on, got to 50. Like 50 ways to a healthy 100. Great, let's do it. And then I thought, well, no, I really had set on 100. So I pushed through, got to 75. And I contemplated that, and I thought, look, if I just keep pushing, I'll find it. Now, the funny thing was, when I was doing all these, I was trying to research, come up with longevity, supercentenarians, who are the people who've lived past 100, what do they do? And I'm getting all this knowledge and information. And then I forgot some really fundamental things that I was doing. I hadn't even included in the book.
Right.
So once I started looking at my own life more closely, I thought, oh my gosh, there's yoga, there's swimming.
Yeah.
And all I had to do was go and do the research. How does swimming link to longevity? Then go find a supercentenarian or a person who's made it past 100 or to 100 who swims.
Right.
Find out their story, find out all the health benefits, and then include my own experiences about, as I do talk about, with my swim coach.
All the way through it, definitely.
Yeah. So it was sort of funny when I got to about 75 topics, and then I realised, oh, hang on. There's things that I'm doing I could include in here that I haven't included yet.
Were there things that you had to cut out in the end after that?
There wasn't. I don't think I ever, because once I sat down, because I worked in the kitchen, that was my best room, because I like to be in the room where the food is, because I love food, healthy food.
Yeah, definitely.
But I like to have the sunshine that I can see out. And so I'd sit there and I'd say, right, I need some inspiration. I want a new topic. I want to have something that's going to be really important and powerful. And I always like to, because I'm a storyteller, I like to write story.
Yeah.
If I can, I'm going to weave a story in, because I know myself, if I'm sitting listening to a speaker and they're droning on about something, and the researcher says this and the statistics say that, and as soon as they go, now I'm just going to tell you a story, and all of a sudden I sit up, oh, okay, well, they're going to tell a story. Oh, I'm interested now. So I try and weave story as much as possible.
Well, there's some very funny moments in there that I had to have a little chuckle about. Just that, you obviously a very witty lady, because it certainly shines through in your writing.
Yeah, thank you.
And I also love the way that you weaved all of the 100 chapters together. It kind of seem seamless. It's like an almanac, or it's like a stepping stone to 100, obviously.
Yeah. Well, there's a bit of a story, a bit of a backstory to that, which is a bit, a big learning for me, and anyone who's listening who's going to write a book, particularly if it's going to be chapterized and you just writing as it comes out of your head. What I did in my lack of wisdom, I just wrote them as they came out of my head. So I might be talking about healthy pooing in one topic.
We're going to talk about that in a minute.
And then I might be talking about taking a visit to the dentist all that dental flossing.
Yeah.
You know, it could leave a real sour taste in your mouth, couldn't it?
Really?
So what I did was I thought, well, I'll just type them all up, you know, get them all done. I'm going to send them off to the editor. I'm sure she'll sort them for me. Well, of course, that's not part of the editor's role. And after I'd written them all, she said, you know, you're going to have to sort them into some sort of a category or something. And I thought, oh, okay.
That's another big job.
So what I did was
What do you mean
I
I'm not
actually
finished?
printed the whole manuscript out. I cut out the headings, and there's 100 of them. I lay them all out on my dining table, and then I said, right, well, I know there's 7 areas of life, you know, your spiritual, physical, vocational, all the 7 areas I talk about. So I'm going to categorize them and put them into piles, all the different categories of life. And then when I've done that, then I'll sort them into what order we'll go into. So that's what I did. And I took a photograph of the table with all the topics on it, because I was worried the wind would blow.
Right.
And then all my topics would go scattering to the breeze.
No.
And I'd gone to all those hours of trying to get them sorted.
Quickly get a snap of it.
And so my editor, Gail, she and I then between us, then she'd say, oh, look, no, that topic doesn't flow quite so well with that one. Let's move that around. So we did a bit of juggling after I'd sorted them. But what occurred was like a piece of magic, because, as you said, one seems to flow beautifully with the next.
They really do.
Yeah, and it just then became a seamless.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful book. I've absolutely loved it. I wanted to actually commend you on being able to research. You said it's taken you 4 years to research and get it into a book. The topics that you've covered, like, they're so vast, and you can see them on TV, Google, YouTube, and there's lots of people nowadays talking about it more and more. But you have, like, condensed these things that you can take weeks and weeks to watch into a small, incredibly powerful chapter where you can completely understand it. So congratulations for that.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, right.
And I thought, well, if I want to live, because no one wants to live to be 100 if they're not going to be well doing it.
Yeah.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Yeah, no.
But why not, if we want to make the most of our lives, and having a purposeful life is part of, you know, the book as well, and being able to be healthy gives you that foundation to be able to live that life.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's really important for me. But I think the book is like a culmination of my life. It's like a blueprint of my life. It's like I had to go through those years of, you know, ill health and everything, because it was the numbers that when I went to the doctors that said, you know, things are not looking good for you. And of course, then reading David Gillespie's book was like, okay, very timely for me. So it was like all those experiences, plus all my education as well, plus my story writing, plus my teaching, plus my working on women's workshops. And I learned so much from the human condition and spirit from 10 years of doing that. Wow. And I thought it was like everything just came together. And then when I sat down in the kitchen, it was like it brought it all together.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And like the latter chapters, which I think are my favourites, really, because they're the big picture stuff.
Yeah.
And I sort of cry even when I think of them and read them myself now and go, oh, wow, you know, they move me to want to make a change or do something differently or appreciate something that I hadn't appreciated before.
That's definitely one of the things you talk about is, you know, helping others. And you are definitely going to be helping others by this book. I think it'll give people an easier path than having to do all their own research to find out the good things to do.
Yeah.
And meditation, when did you start meditating?
Well, I probably started because Dr. John Demartini, as you know, I
you
sort of
talk
rabbit
about
on
him a
about
lot.
him. He's my, he did my foreword for me, which was
that's amazing.
wonderful. Yeah. And I thought it helped the profile of my book, which was really gracious of him to do.
Yeah.
Well, when I started yoga with my mum when I was 16, meditation was part of that process as well. But of course, at 16, can you imagine many 16-year-olds?
No.
Because I found it very difficult. My mind was just all over the place.
Well, I've got younger kids, 17 and 14, and I say, you want to meditate? And they're like, no.
It really seemed like hard work. And so I sort of left it. And it wasn't until I got into the work of, you know, doing life coaching and then John Demartini's work that I really saw the benefit. And I also realised it's not hard.
No.
And it doesn't matter if your mind wanders. Let it slip past. Just go back and spend a few minutes or whatever. So, and even like when I was coming here to do the recordings, remember I said to you that I did that deep breathing as a way of like that autonomic nervous system just to calm down, because it's the only way you can get your autonomic nervous system to relax.
Yeah.
You can't think yourself to a calm state,
No.
but you can breathe yourself your
Yes,
way
you can.
there.
You cannot think yourself to a calm state. No.
And so I was doing that on the way here.
It really made a difference,
and
didn't
it made a difference to how I was centered, and that's a form of meditation. Meditation is digging in the garden. Meditation is just appreciating things in life. It's not a set lying down, being in a Zen state, going om, sitting on a mountain or something,
No,
and
that's
eating
right.
mung beans and watching doves fly in the
That's
distance.
right.
It's very mundane, ordinary, and I think that's what the book, I find it's appealing about the book, is it's ordinary and mundane things, but they're so profound. And
I would not call the book mundane at all, people. At all.
But what I mean by they're simple. They're just simple things that we can all do.
Yeah.
And that was what I was very mindful the whole time I was writing the book. I'm just mindful of my audience. How would my audience want to know about this? And so I think that is the powerful part.
Definitely.
Isn't it? It's just, okay, I'm in service now. Could we talk about being in service and how powerful that is? So how can I be in service to my audience? And if it's one person I make a difference to in their lives, wow.
You're winning.
That's a win.
Yeah.
That's a win.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing. Your book encompasses everything from your diet to your hobbies to your exercise regime to your health to gardening, to doing things that you really love doing, to helping others, to meditation, to awe-inspiring moments. I feel like I'm going to get choked up even just saying it. Like, I really loved going through that. And honestly, if you see people on, YouTube and they're talking about stuff, meditating and getting the best life that you can ever have, and it seems, like it's taking such a long time to get there, to get the idea of it, I definitely recommend getting your hands on Deb's book, particularly the audio, because I've worked with you on the audio book,
right.
and Deb's narrated it herself, but you can get her book. It's out already.
That's right. Has been out for a year or two now. Yeah.
But before, I could talk to you all day. I said that to you this morning.
That's
the podcast
right.
could go forever. But some of your topics were like a real ear opener and jaw dropper moment for me, like the squatty potty and the poo patrol. Dear listener, did you know that you can actually donate your poo to others to improve your health?
Your gut health.
What the heck?
I know.
How did you hear about things like that?
Well, actually, it's because I actually know someone who does it.
Okay.
It's actually a friend of my daughter's, and I discovered that he was a fecal transplant donor. I thought,
I know, right?
Right, okay, so let's find out. I was curious. So what's the benefit? And then he talked to me about, the idea is about transferring healthy fecal matter to someone who has poor gut health in some way, whether it's Crohn's disease or other problems of the bowel or whatever.
Right.
And so I thought, well, the researcher brain cap went on, I'm going to find out about this.
Yeah.
And then I discovered that it's an ancient Chinese process, but it's also probably been around here in the Western world since 1950s or so. It's very big in America. We've got a fecal transplant unit down in Melbourne. And this fellow just routinely poops and delivers his poop to the lab, and it gets...
That was definitely...
It gets put in a blender, and then it gets transferred.
But it helps people live.
What it does, it replaces the bad microbes or the lacking microbes with the healthy microbes.
Yeah.
And then because that's the whole gut-brain axis, that your health in your gut is very much linked to your emotions, which I know you were really surprised with learning that there is such a gut-brain axis, and how our gut health is very much linked to our emotional health.
Well, they say your stomach, I have read that on one of the other self-help things or YouTube channel or wherever I saw it, that your gut has a brain, or is a brain basically.
Yeah, almost your first brain really. And then what I found was the American research discovered that the emotional well-being of the donor is linked to what happens with the recipient. So if the donor has, say, emotional problems or whatever,
like depression or
whatever, that gets transferred to the recipient, and also the physical traits of the donor also can get transferred to the recipient.
See what I mean when I said, what? What? You need to read Deb's book. It is outstanding and very insightful, I've got to
That's right.
say.
And we haven't even talked about sex yet.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
So it's a hot topic as well. So it's,
Yeah.
I try and cover all aspects of life. I don't shy away from anything.
No, you don't.
Anything that I think that can help people in any aspect of their life to live a longer, healthier, more abundant, purpose-filled life, it's got to go in the book.
It's all in there.
It's a very unassuming cover, and a beautifully cover, the actual cover, which I think will go on the audiobook as well.
Yeah, you've got Sean Leahy doing
That's right, the cartoonist. He did the cover and 10 illustrations, so for the hard and soft cover. Readers will be able to see that.
Yeah, and I recommend just getting a copy of the printed book just to see the print.
That's right.
They depict you and your hubby.
That's right. Yeah. Well, yeah, he makes us look better than we are.
I don't know about that. You're a very fit-looking lady. I've actually, what have I got down here? I was going to say, obviously, your testimony to living a fabulous life, and you followed a lot of the steps. Being incredibly active. You've told me that you swim and that you do yoga and you do a whole bunch of other things. You're constantly on the go. You look sensational.
Oh, thank you, Simone.
So do you follow all of
I
your
do
100
sometimes.
steps?
Oh, yeah, particularly the sugar.
Yeah.
There's a definite. I definitely, although having said that, now that I'm past, I think, the sugar addiction phase, I can have, like we're having a birthday or a celebration, I can have a piece of birthday cake and that's no problem.
Right.
So, yeah, definitely with the sugar. Sometimes I can get a bit lazy with, say, journaling or, it's not possible for me to do everything all the time.
Yeah.
So, in fact, when I was narrating the book, I'm thinking, I better get back to doing that again. I haven't done that for a while. So, yeah, I can get a little bit lax myself. And then it was a good reminder for me, oh, yeah, that's a great topic. I better get back to doing that again. Yeah.
It's kind of also one of those books that people could pick up and think, right, okay, what am I needing in my life? Open up a chapter and maybe that's,
And just read that, or listen to that bit of inspiration. And they're only relatively short too, so they don't take a lot of time for you to listen to as well.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And now you've done your audio book. Superstar.
Yes, I know. Thank you so much for making the journey so seamless for me. Because I had this dream to do the audio book, not when I wrote the book, because a lot of my book reading is audio myself.
Right.
And I thought about the possibility, but I didn't even know that people like you existed.
Oh.
And so it was a wonderful discovery.
I'm so glad you discovered me.
And then I thought, it's possible. It's possible.
That's awesome. I always feel like the books that come to me are in a timely fashion. So maybe that's advice for me to take on board some of your tips that will get me to 100.
Yeah, well, you've had to endure 100 of them in a very short space of time.
So maybe I'll just refer to them every now and then. So that's right. I do a few of them. There's some I could probably definitely start doing.
I think your listeners will also go, yeah, I'm already doing that. That's great, though, to know that the science behind that and
absolutely.
how that does link to a healthier life and in what ways it's beneficial. Yeah.
So how can people contact you?
Well, I've got a website called www.100waystoahealthy100.com.au or on Facebook on my own Facebook site, Debbie Peden, or on my life coaching website on Facebook as well, which is called A New Pinnacle Life Coaching.
Okay, so people can contact you to be life coached. Do you do that in person and
online? In person, I do it in line, on the phone, across the world.
Excellent.
Yeah, there's no tyranny of distance when it comes to coaching or mentoring, as we talked about, because mentoring is very, very important.
If you can think of a topic that's going to help your life improve, it's in 100 Ways to a Healthy 100.
That's right. Yeah. So I've got, like, if I were to condense the 100 into, I've got 4 topics that I think would absolutely condense the whole book down, and they would be: 1, eat as low down the food chain as possible. 2, move. Not necessarily exercise, but keep moving. 3, stay connected. Have a community, people, whatever. So powerful. And the final one is have a purpose. And when you're on purpose, go out there and serve others. That, I think, encapsulates the book in some ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on my podcast today and for writing the book from my perspective. Of course, it goes without saying for narrating your story to me. I'm the first to hear the audiobook. It will be out as soon as possible. We'll get on to the editing straight away as soon as you walk out today. And
Thank you so much, Simone. It's been a wonderful, I felt like it's been a great team experience.
Yeah.
I've made a new friend as
Yes.
well. How beautiful is that?
Yeah.
And hopefully lifelong friend.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same, Deb.
Yeah, thank you very much, Simone.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining me
Thank you.
and my guests from around the world.
Thank you for being a part of this show.
The Simone Filer Podcast. Catch you next time.
It's a wrap.